You know, Ted, one of our loyal viewers, Gary, is texted in, and he wanted me to ask, explain stacking uninsured motorist coverage.
That's a really good question.
We may have to take a break and get back into that in just a second, because it's actually a little lengthier conversation.
Right, but you know, and that's part of that form you mentioned earlier with the uninsured motorist coverage. In order to have the default is that you should have stacking coverage, which means you have coverage in the amount of the number of vehicles you have on the policy. So if you have 3 vehicles on the policy, and if you elect the standard stacking uninsured motorist coverage, then you will have that coverage in the same amount of your bodily injury coverage times the number of vehicles you have. So it's important to look at that. And I think we need to take a break here, but we can explain that in a little more detail.
Sure. So like three vehicles could all of a sudden be $100,000 times 3 would be $300,000.
And can really help you.
Right. Now, you know, if you don't sign any form, the default in Florida is stacking coverage, stacking UM.
And the amount of your bodily injury coverage.
Now, other states don't even provide or allow stacking coverage.
Some of them, and you know, some of them don't have, the way the uninsured motorist statute works in the state of Florida, it goes directly above whatever the individual has or doesn't have if there's none. But you have other states that have all kinds of different rules, some where you have to take the higher of the 2 coverages, right. Some where there's set-off provisions. So we are blessed in the state of Florida to have the ability to have full stacking insurance, and there's even other states that limit the number of vehicles that you can stack. So fortunately, the default here is that you can get stacking. If they do not produce that selection rejection form that Chris was mentioning, that is important to educate you and advise you of your rights. If they do not have that form, then you will have stacking coverage in the amount of your bodily injury coverage. But you can always select to completely reject. You can reject stacking, or you can even select stacking at a coverage amount less than what your full bodily injury limits are. And all of those come with different premium prices, so it's a risk assessment like we discussed earlier that you have to determine what is the best for you. But it's certainly something that needs to be explored and discussed, and you need to discuss with your agent what your life circumstances are and make sure that you're making the best decision for you and your family. But I would strongly encourage you to consider stacking coverage and the full amount of your bodily injury coverage.